When we talk about acting as if you are the best, the foundation begins with belief. Belief in yourself before anyone else even notices you, before the world claps for you, and before the results even show up. This belief is not about arrogance. It is not about pretending to be someone you are not, and it is not about ignoring your weaknesses. Instead, it is about planting a seed inside your mind that says, yes, I can. Yes, I am capable. Yes, I will figure it out even if I do not know how today. Without this inner conviction, no amount of talent, opportunity, or resources will carry you through the storms that life throws at you. Look around and you will see countless stories of individuals who had nothing to their names. No wealth, no powerful networks, no prestigious background. Yet they built empires, created movements, and changed the world. All because they believed when no one else did. What separates them from the countless others who never reached their dreams is not luck, not even intelligence, but a stubborn faith in themselves that refused to be shaken by doubt, criticism, or failure. Belief is the silent engine that keeps you moving when logic says to stop, when fear tells you it is impossible, and when others whisper that you are wasting your time. Think about the way society works. People will only believe in you once they see visible success. They believe when the numbers show, when the trophies are on the shelf, when the results are undeniable. But the irony is, you cannot reach that level unless you first believed without proof. Every breakthrough starts in the invisible. A runner believes they can break a record before the stopwatch confirms it. An entrepreneur believes they can create value before the customers arrive. An artist believes their work matters before the world appreciates it. If you wait until the applause comes to believe, you will never begin, because applause is always the final step, never the first. Self-belief is also what gives you the courage to take the first step when the path looks uncertain. Imagine standing at the edge of a road you have never walked before. It is dark and lit, and you cannot see more than a few steps ahead. Fear whispers to you, don't go. You don't know what's ahead. What if you fall? What if you fail? But belief answers back, I don't need to see the whole path. I just need to trust that I can walk each step as it comes. That inner voice is what separates dreamers who only imagine from doers who take action. Without belief, fear wins. With belief, you at least give yourself a chance to win. And let me tell you something important, nobody will hand you this belief. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your friends, not your mentors. They can encourage you, they can inspire you, they can even push you for a while. But the moment you are alone, the moment the lights are off, the only thing that carries you is your own decision to believe in yourself. Too many people waste their lives waiting for others to validate them, to say, yes, you are good enough, you are talented enough, you are ready. But life does not work like that. You must give yourself permission. You must validate yourself. You must decide to stand tall even when the evidence looks small. The truth is, belief is tested most when results are not visible. Anyone can believe once success arrives, but real strength is believing when the bank account is empty, when rejection letters keep piling up, when every attempt seems to fail. That is when the world asks, do you really believe? And that is when you must answer, not with words, but with persistence, with resilience, with the choice to keep moving forward. Belief is not about ignoring reality. It is about creating a new one. It is about saying, yes, my circumstances are hard, but they will not define my future. Yes, I have failed before, but failure is not who I am. Yes, I have doubts, but my faith is stronger than my fear. When you hold that level of belief, something powerful begins to happen. You attract opportunities because confidence is magnetic. You inspire trust in others because people can sense when someone truly believes in themselves. And most importantly, you unlock parts of your own potential that remain hidden when you are paralyzed by self-doubt. You begin to act differently, speak differently, and show up differently because the way you see yourself changes the way the world sees you. After belief, the next step to truly acting, as if you are the best, is learning never to wait for permission. Too many people trap themselves in hesitation, not because they lack ability, but because they are secretly waiting for someone to nod at them, to give them approval, to hand them a certificate that says, now you are ready to move forward. The danger in this mindset is that permission may never come because life rarely delivers the perfect conditions. The boss will not always recognize your potential immediately. The family might not always understand your vision. and friends may even discourage you out of fear that you will fail. If you keep waiting for someone else to clear the way for you, your dreams will remain parked in the garage while years pass by. When you study those who achieve something significant, you notice a common thread. They did not wait to be told they could. They told themselves. They did not pause until the world was comfortable with their decision. They moved even when the world doubted them. Waiting for permission is like standing at a locked door, hoping someone will come by with the key, when in reality you have the ability to climb through the window, push through the back gate, or even build your own door if you have to. Life rewards initiative, not hesitation, and history remembers those who took action when everyone else was still asking, "Is this the right time?" Think about your own life. How many times have you hesitated, not because you lacked skill, but because you feared criticism? Maybe you wanted to start a small business, but you thought people would laugh at your idea. Maybe you wanted to speak up in a meeting, but you worried your voice was not important enough. Maybe you wanted to pursue a passion, but you were waiting for your family or society to clap for you before you began. Every one of those moments is a silent thief of progress, because while you hesitate, someone else who believes less but acts faster moves ahead. The world does not always reward the most talented. It rewards the ones who show up. And here is the painful truth: you will never feel completely ready. If you keep waiting for perfect timing, perfect resources, or perfect confidence, you will grow old in the waiting room of life. The readiness you are hoping for only comes after action, never before. A child does not wait to walk until they master balance. They stumble, fall, get up, and through falling they learn balance. The same principle applies to your dreams. You gain strength by doing, not by waiting. You gain clarity by moving, not by standing still. There will always be voices that tell you to slow down, that now is not the moment, that you should wait until you are more prepared, more skilled, more connected. But if you listen to those voices too long, they become chains around your ambition. What you must realize is that no one else can see the fire inside you the way you do. They cannot feel your calling, they cannot hear your inner drive, and they cannot sense the urgency beating in your heart. That is why you cannot wait for them to give you permission to pursue it. Permission is not given, it is taken, and it is taken by those who decide to act. When you decide to move forward without waiting, something remarkable happens. You begin to build momentum. Each small action becomes proof that you can take another, and soon those small actions compound into results that silence every critic. People who once doubted you suddenly ask how you did it. Those who told you to wait begin to follow your example. And you realize that the only thing you ever needed was not their approval, but your own courage to start. This courage does not mean you will not feel fear. It means you choose to act despite the fear. It means you take the first step not because you are fearless, but because your belief in the possibility of what could be is stronger than the comfort of staying where you are. When you stop waiting for permission, you liberate yourself from the prison of other people's opinions and step into the freedom of your own decisions. You no longer live your life on borrowed time or borrowed expectations. You live on your own terms. Once you have chosen to believe in yourself and you stop waiting for permission, the next critical truth you must embrace is that your attitude shapes your altitude. Attitude is not just a mood or a passing feeling. It is the lens through which you view your world, the filter through which you interpret challenges, and the engine that determines how high you can climb in life. Two people can face the exact same set of circumstances, yet their outcomes will be completely different because of the attitude they carry into the battle. One person sees difficulty and immediately shrinks, convincing themselves that it is impossible, while the other sees the same difficulty and says, "This is my chance to grow stronger." The storm does not determine the outcome, the mindset does. Life will never be free of obstacles. There will always be moments when things do not go as planned, when the roadblocks feel heavier than your strength, and when you are tempted to believe that maybe this is not for you. At that exact moment, what separates the one who rises from the one who falls is not education, not connections, not even experience. It is the attitude that refuses to let a setback define the future. A negative attitude magnifies problems until they look impossible, while a positive attitude sees the same problem as a temporary challenge with a hidden solution. Attitude is like a compass. It points you either toward possibilities or toward defeat. In whichever direction you allow it to point, that is the road you will travel. Think about the workplace, for example. Two people might be given the same difficult task by their boss. The first complains immediately, saying it is unfair, too difficult, and not part of their role. They drag their feet, give half effort, and confirm their own belief that it was impossible. The second person approaches the same task with curiosity, saying, I do not know everything yet, but this is my opportunity to prove myself, to learn, and to demonstrate resilience. One is remembered for excuses, the other for effort. It is not the task that determined their future, it was the attitude they brought into it. The same is true in personal life. Imagine someone who loses their job. A negative attitude immediately falls into despair, saying life is unfair, there are no opportunities left, and the future is bleak. A positive attitude still feels the sting of disappointment, but says, this is painful, but maybe this is the push I needed to explore something new, to sharpen my skills, or to build the dream I have been ignoring. One response keeps them trapped, the other lifts them higher. Again, it is not the event, but the attitude that shapes the altitude. Your attitude also shapes how people respond to you. Nobody enjoys being around someone who carries constant negativity, because negativity drains energy and destroys momentum. But people are drawn to those who radiate hope, possibility, and confidence even in difficult times. Opportunities often flow toward people who display a positive spirit, because leaders, mentors, and even strangers trust someone who chooses to see potential rather than problems. This is why attitude becomes a magnet. It either attracts growth or repels it. And here is what many people forget: attitude is a choice. You cannot always control the weather, the economy, or the actions of other people, but you can control how you choose to respond. You can choose to complain or to create, to dwell on what is missing or to build with what you have, to surrender or to fight. Each day you wake up with that choice, and each choice compounds into a life direction. Even science shows that the human brain is wired to respond differently based on perspective. Optimism fuels creativity, persistence, and problem solving, while pessimism shuts down possibility and leads to stagnation. So when you face the next challenge, remember that it is not the size of the challenge, but the size of your attitude that determines how high you rise. If you carry the attitude of defeat, even small obstacles will crush you. But if you carry the attitude of growth, even large mountains will eventually feel like steps. Attitude does not change the weight of the burden, but it changes the strength of your back. Attitude does not eliminate storms, but it teaches you how to fly above them. After shaping your attitude, you must also learn to redefine how you see failure, because failure is not the end of your journey. It is the teacher that refines you along the way. Too many people stop moving forward the moment they fall, as if falling means they are not meant to continue. But the truth is, failure is not a barrier that blocks you. It is a lesson that prepares you. And those who succeed are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who never stop learning from failure. From childhood, many of us were conditioned to fear failure. In school, mistakes were punished with red marks and low grades, and we were told that success meant avoiding errors at all costs. By the time we became adults, we carried this mindset into our careers, relationships, and dreams, treating failure like an enemy rather than a guide. Yet if you look at any story of greatness, you will see countless failures behind every success. Athletes lose games before they win championships. Entrepreneurs close businesses before they build empires. Inventors create hundreds of prototypes that fail before one breakthrough changes the world. The failures are not signs of weakness. They are stepping stones toward mastery. The problem is not failure itself, but the way people interpret it. Some see failure as proof that they are not capable, so they give up and never try again. Others see failure as feedback, as a message saying, this method did not work, but try again in a different way. One group stops, the other grows, and the difference between them is perspective. If you see failure as a wall, you will quit. If you see it as a teacher, you will keep moving until you find the right path. Think of a child learning to walk. They fall countless times. Sometimes they stumble after only one step. Sometimes they fall hard enough to cry, but never once do they say, walking is not for me. They do not give up because they have not yet been taught to label falling as failure. They only see it as part of the process. So they keep trying, and eventually they master it. Imagine if adults carried the same mindset into their dreams. Imagine if you saw every failure not as the end, but as proof that you are moving forward, learning and getting closer to the breakthrough you need. Failure also reveals character in a way that success never can. When everything is easy, it is simple to stay motivated. But when things collapse, when doors close, when plans do not work, that is when your resilience, your persistence, and your true commitment are tested. Many people say they want success until they face failure, but only those who embrace failure as part of the process ever reach lasting success. Failure is like fire. It can burn you if you fear it, but it can also refine you if you understand it. The lessons you learn in your lowest moments are often the ones that shape your highest achievements. And let us not forget that some failures redirect you toward the path you were meant to take. Sometimes the job you lose is the push you need to build your own business. Sometimes the relationship that ends is the doorway to a stronger, healthier one. Sometimes the project that collapses teaches you skills that make your next project unstoppable. What looks like rejection today may actually be protection or redirection, but you will only see that if you refuse to treat failure as final. So the next time you fall short, instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What can I learn?" Instead of saying, "This is the end," say, "This is the lesson." Because failure will visit you, there is no escaping it, but how you welcome it will determine whether it becomes a barrier that traps you or a bridge that carries you forward. As you continue on the journey of growth, you must recognize that no one walks alone, because whether you realize it or not, the people you spend your time with are shaping your mindset, influencing your choices, and quietly building or breaking your confidence. This is why surrounding yourself with believers instead of doubters is not just good advice. It is a necessity if you truly want to rise. The truth is, human beings absorb the attitudes, the energy, and even the level of vision of those around them. And if you constantly keep company with people who only see limits, you will eventually start to doubt your own possibilities, no matter how strong your initial belief may be. Think for a moment about the times when you shared a dream with someone, excited and full of energy, only to be met with words like, "That is too hard. Very few people succeed in that. Maybe you should be realistic." At first you may have shrugged it off, but if those words come often enough from people close to you, they begin to sink into your subconscious, and slowly you start questioning yourself, not because the dream is impossible, but because the environment around you feeds doubt instead of belief. Doubters are not always malicious. Sometimes they are people who love you but cannot see beyond their own fears, so they project those fears onto you. If you allow their voices to dominate, you end up carrying chains you never needed to wear. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with believers, something powerful happens. Believers are those who see not only who you are, but who you can become. They remind you of your strengths when you are tempted to focus on your weaknesses. They encourage you to keep going when failure tries to convince you to quit. They challenge you to dream bigger when you are tempted to settle for less. Being around believers does not mean you will never face doubt, but it means you will never face it alone. Their faith in you fuels your own, and their energy keeps you moving when your own motivation feels weak. History is filled with stories of people who achieved greatness because someone believed in them when no one else did. A teacher who saw potential in a struggling student, a mentor who encouraged an entrepreneur to take the risk, a friend who reminded someone of their worth when rejection tried to define them. Belief is contagious, and when you surround yourself with people who carry it, you find yourself rising higher than you thought possible. But let me make something clear. Surrounding yourself with believers does not mean you should only look for people who always agree with you. Real believers are not blind cheerleaders. They are people who push you to improve, who hold you accountable, and who refuse to let you settle for mediocrity. A believer does not say, "Everything you do is perfect." A believer says, "I know you can do better. I know you are capable of more, and I will not let you waste your potential." That kind of belief sharpens you, stretches you, and helps you grow. Sometimes choosing believers also means making difficult decisions about who you allow close to your heart. If certain relationships constantly drain your energy, discourage your dreams, or belittle your vision, you must have the courage to limit their influence. This does not mean you stop loving them or caring about them, but it does mean you protect your space in your mind because your future is too important to be poisoned by constant negativity. Success is not built in isolation, but it is also not built in toxic company. The voices around you matter, and the sooner you recognize this, the stronger your foundation becomes. So if you want to climb higher, look at your circle. Ask yourself, are these people pushing me forward or pulling me back? Are they feeding my belief or feeding my doubt? Are they reminding me of possibilities or drowning me in limitations? The answers to those questions will reveal why you feel the way you do about your dreams, because the environment you live in either gives life to your vision or slowly kills it. And if you find that your environment is filled with doubters, remember that you have the power to change it by intentionally seeking out people, communities, and mentors who believe in growth, who believe in possibilities, and who believe in you. As you continue to rise higher, you must realize that the greatest investment you will ever make is not in a business, not in a career, not even in material assets, but in yourself. Working harder on yourself than on anything else is the foundation of sustainable success, because everything you achieve in life flows out of who you are becoming. You can build wealth, but without discipline you may lose it. You can gain opportunities, but without confidence and preparation you may waste them. You can be handed a position of influence, but without character you may destroy it. When you work harder on yourself, on your mind, your habits, your skills, your character, you ensure that no matter what life takes away from you, you always carry within you the capacity to rebuild and rise again. Many people make the mistake of working tirelessly on their job while neglecting their growth. They pour countless hours into tasks, projects, and deadlines, but invest almost nothing in expanding their mindset, improving their habits, or strengthening their character. As a result, they may experience temporary success, but it rarely lasts, because they themselves are not growing at the same pace as the opportunities around them. True success does not come from working harder on what you do, it comes from working harder on who you are. Consider this: your mind is your most valuable tool. Every invention, every business, every achievement begins as a thought in someone's mind. If your thinking is limited, your results will always be limited, no matter how hard you work externally. That is why feeding your mind with knowledge, surrounding it with wisdom, and challenging it with new ideas is crucial. Reading books, learning new skills, engaging with mentors, and reflecting on your experiences are not luxuries, they are necessities if you want to keep evolving. Growth is not accidental. It is intentional, and it requires effort. But working on yourself is not just about skills and knowledge, it is also about your habits. The small routines you repeat daily shape the person you become far more than the occasional big effort. Waking up with purpose, managing your time, practicing discipline, choosing consistency over excuses. These are the hidden engines of success. A person who masters their habits masters their destiny, because habits dictate actions and actions compound into results. You cannot expect extraordinary results while living with ordinary habits. That is why you must train yourself daily, just as an athlete trains their body, because your future depends on the strength of your daily practices. And perhaps most importantly, working on yourself means building character. Talent may open the first door, but only character keeps the door open. Without integrity, without humility, without perseverance, every external achievement eventually crumbles. History is filled with examples of talented individuals who rose quickly but fell just as quickly because they neglected character. On the other hand, those who invested in values, in discipline, in patience, and in service to others created legacies that outlived them. Character is the foundation that sustains the weight of success, and without it, even the tallest building will collapse. The beautiful thing about working on yourself is that it gives you confidence no one can take away. When you know you have invested in your growth, you carry an inner strength that is unshaken by setbacks. You may lose a job, but you will not lose your ability to create value. You may face rejection, but you will not lose your self-worth. You may fall behind temporarily, but you know you have the tools to rise again. That confidence does not come from external titles, money, or applause. It comes from the quiet work you do on yourself when no one is watching. So as you chase your goals, remember that the greatest project you will ever manage is yourself. Build your mind like an architect builds a masterpiece. Train your habits like a coach trains an athlete. And shape your character like a craftsman shapes a piece of art. Because when you grow yourself, everything else around you grows in proportion. As you reach higher levels of success, one truth becomes clear: real greatness is not measured by how much you earn, but by how much difference you make. Income may give you comfort, it may buy you recognition, and it may provide security for a time, but it is impact that ensures your life carries meaning long after the money is gone. Too many people chase income with everything they have, only to find themselves empty when they finally reach it, because money fills the pocket, but impact fills the heart. And when you live a life that focuses only on income, your influence ends the moment the paycheck stops, but when you live for impact, your influence continues to echo in the lives you touch. Think about the people you admire most, not just in history, but in your own life. Chances are, what you remember about them is not the car they drove or the house they lived in, but the way they made you feel, the encouragement they gave you, or the opportunities they opened for others. Impact lives in memories, in legacies, in the quiet ways you helped someone stand taller when life tried to break them. And the beautiful thing about impact is that it does not require wealth to begin. You can leave an impact with kindness, with encouragement, with sharing knowledge, with lifting someone when they cannot lift themselves. Now, this does not mean that income is unimportant. Money is a tool, and in many cases, it is necessary for survival, growth, and influence. But if money becomes the only measure of your success, you risk building a life that looks full on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. Impact, on the other hand, ensures that even when the material things fade, your life still matters. Income feeds you, but impact feeds generations. Income may build your lifestyle, but impact builds your legacy. One of the tragedies of our time is that so many chase wealth with such intensity that they forget to chase purpose. They build careers but neglect relationships. They chase promotions but ignore compassion. They gather possessions but fail to give back. At the end of the journey, when they look back, they realize that the things they worked hardest to collect did not carry the weight they imagined. What truly lasts is not how much you accumulated, but how many lives you influenced for the better. Impact also gives meaning to your struggles. When you understand that your challenges can be transformed into lessons for others, pain becomes purposeful. A business owner who failed multiple times can use those failures to mentor young entrepreneurs. A person who overcame hardship can inspire others to keep moving. A leader who faced rejection can teach resilience to those just beginning. Impact is born when you stop asking only, "What can I gain?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" And here is the powerful truth: when you focus on impact, income often follows naturally. People are drawn to those who create value, who solve problems, who uplift others. A teacher who impacts students leaves a mark far beyond the classroom, and in time, their influence creates opportunities. An entrepreneur who builds products that genuinely help people does not just earn profit, they build trust, loyalty, and long-term success. A leader who impacts their team with vision and support gains not just followers, but builders of the dream. By prioritizing impact, you create a ripple effect that multiplies far beyond what money alone could ever achieve. So as you rise, never forget that the highest use of your talents, your time, and your energy is not simply to create a comfortable life for yourself, but to create a meaningful life for others. The applause of wealth fades, but the gratitude of lives touched never disappears. So my friends, if there is one truth you must carry with you from today, it is this: greatness does not come from waiting for perfect conditions, nor does it come from the approval of others, but from the courage to act as if you are the best, even when no one else believes it yet. You have learned that self-belief is the foundation, that discipline keeps you moving when motivation fades, that failure is not a sign to quit, but a teacher to refine you. And that resilience is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. You now understand that consistency builds momentum, that growth requires stepping beyond comfort, and that true success is not measured by what you take, but by what you give. Life will not hand you success wrapped in silver. It will test you, it will push you, and it will demand that you rise above the noise of doubt. But every struggle is preparing you, every setback is shaping you, and every challenge is whispering, "This is your training ground." Act as if you are already capable, already worthy, already prepared, and soon the world will have no choice but to see in you what you have seen all along. Do not just aim to make a living, aim to make a difference. Do not just seek applause, seek to inspire. Do not just dream of success, commit to creating impact that outlives you. Because when the story of your life is told, people will not remember the titles you held or the wealth you accumulated. They will remember how you made them feel, how you lifted them, and how you showed them what was possible. So go forward today, not with fear, but with conviction, not with hesitation, but with determination, not with small dreams, but with bold visions. Act as if you are the best, not out of arrogance, but out of unshakable belief that you were created with purpose, gifted with potential, and destined to leave a mark on this world. And if you live with that mindset, there will be no limit to what you can achieve.